and welcome to Fractions, Decimals and Percentages, the equivalence session with Cube Education. In this lesson, you will learn why fractions, decimals and percentages are all interchangeable. So you're going to learn why a half is 50% and 0.5, and how to convert between fractions, decimals and percentages. Okay, I'm ever so sorry, I've missed a comma there and that's going to bug me, but never mind. Okay, so a few facts that you might need to know first. The word percentage means out of 100. So 20% actually means 20 out of 100. Okay. When we look at fractions such as a half, it's like saying what is a half of 100? Half of 100 is 50, so a half is equivalent to 50%. We can think of decimals like money. 0.25 is the same as 25 pence, because 0.25 is 25 pence and there is 100 pence in a pound, and so it's the same as 25%. Okay? We'll look at these in more detail as we go through the lesson. So let's look at decimals first. Decimal means out of 10. So 0.1 is the same as saying 10 pence, or 10 out of 100, which is 10%. 0.2 is like saying 20 pence, and so on. So 0.75 is like 75 pence, and 1.00, or 1 whole one, is the same as saying £1. Decimals are easy to convert to percentages. Remember that percentage means out of 100. So, to turn a decimal into a percentage, we just multiply it by 100. And again, I'm reminding you, percent means 100, or out of 100. So if 0.1 we had as a decimal, we just times it by 100 and it gives us 10. So it's 10%. 0.2 is 20%. And as you can see, it's going to go down. So all of those decimals are really easy. All decimals, every single one, is easy to convert to a percentage. Okay, the only one you might struggle with is 1, but 1 times 100 is 100% anyway, so as a percentage, it's 100%. Okay, so you should be able to see this pattern, and you should be able to convert any decimal now into a percentage by timesing them all by 100. So pause the video and have a go at converting these decimals to percentages and vice versa. Okay, if you pause the video and had a go, let's have a look at this one. 0.25, easy, 25%. And then I want you to do this opposite for this one. So 35% must be 0.35. 0.4, right, be careful, it's not 4%, it's 40%. Make sure you're timesing by 100. Okay, 65%, 0.65. So just to make you aware, actually, this one here, this 0.4 is 40%, but 0.04 is 4%. Okay, so just remember that. 0.21, 21%. 82%, 0.82. Now this one here, you might have to be careful with this. When you're timesing by 100, what you're doing is you're moving the decimal point 2 places this way. Okay, so if you're moving the decimal point, the 0 disappears and the point ends up at the end. But because there's nothing after the point, we don't have to write anything. So we just end up with 25. However, here, if we move that decimal point 2 places, and there is going to be a video on timesing by 100 and 1,000, okay, 0.132 times 100 is actually 13.2. You're only moving the decimal point 2 places, and because there's a number after it, the 2, we need to keep that there, so it will be 0.2. And then this one, we just have to get rid of the decimal point or move it all the way back 2. So move it back 2 places instead. So it'd be 0.624. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And we'll go through a few more sections to see how you get on. But so good so far. Or so far so good, should I say. Okay, so now we're going to look at doing fractions to percentages. And these are a bit harder. To turn a fraction to a percentage, we just have to find the fraction of 100. So for example, a fifth can be turned into a percentage by finding a fifth of 100. So to find a fifth of 100, as you know from our previous lessons, 100, we need to do 100 divided by 5. 100 divided by 5 is 20, so our answer, a fifth as a percentage, is 20%. Let's do another one. So I want to know what a quarter is. A quarter can be turned into a percentage by finding a quarter of 100. To find a quarter of 100, we do 100 divided by 4. 100 divided by 4 is 25. So it's 25%. Let's try a third. A third is tricky. So if you don't remember it, which I suggest you try to remember this answer, then you could do it on a calculator, 100 divided by 3. Okay, but once we've got the answer, I suggest you try and remember this one. So a half, a quarter, a third, 3/4, a fifth, and 1/8. Those are the ones that I expect you to try and remember if you're heading into a GCSE or an exam or something like that. It makes it so much easier to remember those fractions. If you're doing this to help your children in school, it makes it easier if they remember these fractions. So if you're trying to teach them, then I suggest they learn these ones. They're as important as learning your times tables. They make life so much easier. So 100 divided by 3. Now our answer is crazy. 33.333333. This goes on forever, this 3. These 3's here will never stop. So we actually write it like this, and then we put a little dot above the 3 to say that that 3 is going to go on and on. That dot means recurring. So 33.3 recurring. But we don't want to write all these 3's, so we just put the little dot. Okay? Okay, let's do another one. This time, 3/5. Okay, so we need to find 3/5 of 100 to work out what that is as a percentage. And we already know how to do that. We're going to do 100 divided by 5, which gives us 20. And then we have to do 20 times 3, because 3 is the number on the top. And that gives us 60. So 3/5 as a percentage is 60%. Okay. Alright then, so pause the video and have a go at turning these fractions into percentages, and you may use a calculator for questions 1, 4 and 5. Okay, if you've paused the video and had a go. So 1/8, 100 divided by 8, 12 point, so 100 divided by 8 is 12.5%. Okay. Now this one, 100 divided by 5, okay, is 20, times by 2 is 40, so 40%. This one, 100 divided by 4 is 25, times by 3 is 75. 100 divided by 6, so it's a 1 on the top, so we don't have to do anything else. 100 divided by 6, 16.6%, but it's recurring. Don't forget to put that little dot on top. Okay, don't forget you could have used a calculator for that one as well. And finally, 2/3. So 100 divided by 3, okay, is 33.3 recurring, times by 2 is 66.6 recurring. Okay, so well done. I hope you did really well on that. All right, let's move on. So percentages to fractions now. We're going to go the opposite way. So you must remember that percent means out of 100. Okay, so 20% means 20 out of 100. All right, so if we want to write that as a fraction, it's really easy. We just write it as 20 out of 100. Okay, but we can't leave it like that. We need to cancel it down. We need to put it into its simplest form. Okay, and that means I need to choose a number that will divide into both 20 and 100. I know that because 20 and 100 both end in 0, I can divide by 10. If I divide by 10, that means my 0 disappears. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, that gives me 2 over 10. Now I can then divide by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, so I've cancelled it down. So it's a fifth. All right. Don't know why that wasn't already on there. But anyway, I hope that makes sense. So I've divided by 10, which means I took the 0 off, giving me 2 over 10. And then I divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 20% as a fraction is a fifth. Okay, so okay, so now we're going to look at percentages to fractions. So let's have a look. You must remember that percent means out of 100 for this one. So I want to find out what 20% is as a fraction, and 20% means 20 out of 100. So I can just write that like that as a fraction, 20 out of 100. Okay, and then we just need to cancel it down. So we have our 20 out of 100. Okay, now I can now think what goes into both 20 and 100. So I'm going to divide by 10. If I divide by 10, I have to do the same to the top as I do to the bottom. So 20 divided by 10 is 2, and 100 divided by 10 is 10. Okay, now that's still not as simple as it could be. Both of those numbers are even numbers, so I can actually divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, try and write it in this nice clear layout as well. It makes things much easier when you're practicing questions or revising or whatever. It's all there for you. You've written it all neatly. Okay, so 20% as a fraction is 1/5. Okay, let's look at another one. So 30% then. 30% means 30 out of 100. So I can just write it like that. Again, these both end in 0, so let's cancel that down. If these both end in 0, you must remember now that we can divide by 10, and that means we just get rid of the 0 on the end there and the 0 on the end there. Okay, so 3/10, we can't go any lower. So 30% as a fraction is 3/10. Next one. Right, 25 this time. 25% means 25 out of 100. So let's cancel it down. Now, this one's a bit different. What goes into both 25 and 100? Well, another trick or another tip to let you know, if both of these end in either a 5 or a 0, I know I can divide by 5. Okay, 25 divided by 5 is 5, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. Now, again, both are 5 or 0, so I can divide by 5 again. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. So, 25% as a fraction is 1/4. Okay, I apologise if I'm speaking a bit too quick. I just get very excited. I get very into it. So if I am speaking too fast, please feel free to watch the video as many times as possible, or send me a message and tell me I'm speaking too quickly, and that's fine. I'll try and record the video again and slow down. Okay, I forget. Right, let's do another one. This one is a little bit harder. 32%. 32% means 32 out of 100. Let's cancel it down. So when we're cancelling down, I think this is probably the hardest part for everybody in terms of this lesson. So again, this is an even number now because it ends in 2, and this is an even number because it ends in 0. So that means I can divide by 2. Makes my life easy. 32 divided by 2 is 16, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. Now again, these are both even numbers, 6 and 0, so I can divide by 2 again. 16 divided by 2 is 8, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. Okay. Now I can't do any more to that because even though 8 is an even number, 5 is not, and I know that 5s do not go into that, even if they do go into this one. Okay, so we can't go any lower. You have to divide both numbers by the same number in order for it to be an equivalent fraction and for it to be in the correct simplest form. Okay, so 32% as a fraction is 8/25. Right, so pause the video and have a go at turning these percentages into fractions. I think there's 5 questions. Yes. Okay, so pause the video and have a go and press play for the answers. Okay, if you pause the video, let's go through it. So 19%, that one I can't really do anything to, so it's just 19 out of 100. 24%, okay, you should have got 6/25. Okay, 45%, 9/20. 70%, 7/10, and 36%, 9/25. Okay, feel free to watch the video again if you have got some of those wrong, or if you think I've even made any mistakes, let me know. Right, so now decimals to fractions. So this one's not the hardest, but the longest, long-winded kind of one. So turning a decimal into a fraction is similar to what we've just been doing, just with one more step before that. So how do we turn 0.1 into a fraction? First, we turn it into a percentage by multiplying by 100. So we're going to do 0.1 times 100, which is 10%. Okay, so that's the first step. Then we turn it into a fraction. So we have 10%, and we know that 10% means 10 out of 100. And we need to also cancel this down. So 10 over 100 means I can divide it by 10 because they're both got zeros. So 10 divided by 10 is 1 and 100 divided by 10 is 10. Okay, so that's your answer. 0.1 as a fraction is 1/10. Let's try another one. 0.18. Okay, 0.18. So the first step, remember, is a decimal and we want to put it into a percentage before we put it into a fraction. So we just times it by 100 first, gives us 18, and then we write down 18 over 100 as our fraction because it's a percentage. 18% means 18 out of 100, and then we cancel it down. Now they're both even numbers, one's an 8 and one's a 0, so I can divide by 2, giving me 9 over 50, and I can't do any more to that because they're, that's not even, this is, but they won't have a number that go into both of them. Okay, pause the video and have a go at turning these decimals into fractions then. Remember there's 2 steps to this one rather than 1. Okay, if you pause the video, let's go through. Pause the video and have a go at these. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at turning these decimals into fractions. Okay, there you go. Just press pause and don't forget there's 2 steps to this one rather than just 1. Okay, if you pause the video, let's go through the answers. So 0.17 becomes 17 over 100. We can't really do anything else with that. 0.78 would be 78 over 100 and then cancelled down to 39 over 50. 0.85 would be 85 over 100 and then cancelled down to 17 over 20. 0.6, I've put a 0 on there, shouldn't have done that. I can, it's not necessarily incorrect because it reminds me that it will be 60 over 100. But I don't really need to put it because it doesn't mean anything. So 0.6 would always be 60%, which is 60 over 100, which would be cancelled down to 6/10. And then 0.99 would just be 99 over 100. Okay, so well done if you got all those right, that's great. So finally now, turning fractions into decimals. And this one's just also a little bit long. So let's have a go. There are some fractions that we must know. So a quarter, a fifth, 3/4, a half, and we should know these decimals. I suggest you learn these ones if you don't already know them, okay? I suggest you also learn a third, because remember I told you before, a third is 0.33 recurring. It goes on and on and on. And also an eighth. An eighth is 0.125. Okay, so I suggest you learn those ones. Right, but if we didn't know them, such as 1/7, okay, we'd have to figure it out. So can you remember when we said that the line means divide? So here, this line actually means divide. So we'd actually have to do 1 divided by 7. Now there's some questions that you'll get and you'll be allowed to use a calculator for them, and that's great. And we will do a video on dividing numbers like this without a calculator, but for now we're going to suggest that a calculator is used for these ones. So 1 divided by 7, okay, so you're putting 1 in your calculator first. Don't make the mistake, when it's fractions you always put the top one in first, even though it's smaller. And this is the answer you get. Now we could round that to 2 decimal places, so you've got 0.14, so we could leave it as 0.14 to 2 decimal places. Okay, there is also a video on rounding decimals if you aren't sure on how that is done. Okay, so let's have a go at a few then. So have a go using your calculator or your calculator on your phone or whatever. Pause the video and have a go at turning these fractions into decimals. Okay, if you pause the video then, here are our answers. Oh, I don't know why it's the wrong way around, but never mind. 2/7 is 0.28, 3/5 is 0.6, 1/9 is 0.11, and 1/8 is 0.125. This is the one I suggested that you learn, along with those others that I wrote down on the previous slide. Now, if you know 1/5 is 0.2, then you should know that 3/5 is 0.6 anyway. Well done, and thank you so much for using Cubit Education, and I will see you next time. Don't be afraid to comment on the course, say what you think, say if there should be anything that needs changing. If you think it is terrible, I would prefer a direct email rather than a comment on my course, but it's completely your choice. Thank you very much. Bye.